Elektra, artist, visa lawyer, entertainment lawyer, immigration lawyer. I wanted to have a video with you guys and talk about F1 students and getting arrested and what that means. But before I start, I wanted to kind of just talk really quickly about kind of breaking news. This is about the proclamation being extended up until March 31st. So this administration never ceases to amaze me, but yesterday on December 31st, the last day of the year, the president extended the proclamations, the international proclamations against certain family members from coming into the U.S. and from certain workers from coming into the U.S. So, of course, this is going to have consequences for companies and families and obviously America in general. But I will do a separate video on that. I just think that it was really important to talk about the extension of those bans. If you guys are watching, please like, subscribe to my channel, like my videos, like our page so that you can continue to receive updates. If you are on Clubhouse, please follow me on Clubhouse. I am super active on Clubhouse. I will be giving a speech or I will be moderating a chat on Clubhouse on Wednesday about branding and how brands and artists can elevate themselves and monetize their careers. But tonight I wanted to talk about students. And we all know that students, or international students, come to the U.S. to expand their knowledge, to network, and to just come and have an experience in the U.S. Educational system. I myself have studied internationally. I have a law degree from the U.S. and I have a law degree from Spain. So I understand the differences in the different educational systems. I also studied in China. I studied in Eastern Europe. So I can tell you that the uniqueness of the U.S. system is what draws the excellent talent that comes into the country and the schools, the universities, and also the workforce. So being on an F1 is a great way to segue into the U.S. labor market. It's not the only way, but it is a really great way to do so because you've got your 2 years of university or your 4 years of university or whatever it is, or grad school, and you're networking, you're meeting people, you're expanding your network, you're expanding your knowledge, and then you get your 1 year of OPT, which allows you to work for 12 months within your field for the next year. If you're a STEM student, then you can extend that OPT for additional time. But sometimes things happen while you are in school or while you're on your OPT. I decided to do the video on the evening of January 1st because I know that during the holidays, people are drinking, people are driving, people are, hopefully if they're at parties, they're being socially distant and wearing masks. But people are out and about, and sometimes things can happen during the holiday season. So a lot of very frequent cases that we see with students being arrested are DUI cases, so driving under the influence, which the government takes extremely seriously, domestic violence cases, which the government also takes very seriously, and all maybe petty theft, maybe possession of drugs, things like that. So for a U.S. student, an American student or a U.S. student, these are things that might be very normal or happen to them. In fact, I went to law school with somebody who was arrested for possession of drugs and eventually became a lawyer. So for Americans, sometimes these types of crimes or misdemeanors are I don't want to say inconsequential, but the consequences for F1 students is manifold. It is very serious. So just to let you know what's going on, in October, about 15 F1 students were arrested for fraud. Fraud is a crime, and about 700 work permits were revoked. This is huge. This is something that just happened like 2 months ago. So it's not something, being arrested is not something that is outside of the scope of being a student. Obviously, don't get arrested while you're in school or while you're on your OPT, but sometimes things happen. And if they do happen, I want to tell you what you can do or what you need to do, or just, general information to help you navigate this very, very tricky situation, which will have long-term serious consequences on your immigration history, your status, and your potential or possibility of coming back to the US for whatever reason, whether it's school or work or whatever. So if you get arrested, like I said, common cases that I see are DUIs, domestic violence, petty theft, and possession of drugs. So most likely, if you are arrested for one of those issues that I just mentioned, you will be in violation of your student code. If you are in violation of your student code, that will prompt the school to either suspend you. And if you are suspended, that means you are not fulfilling the terms of your visa, because you are not attending school, which means that your school will have to inform the government. So number one, violation of the student code, possible suspension, possible, being kicked out of school. The school has an affirmative duty by law to inform the government. So that's the first thing that can happen. Once you are suspended or you're kicked out of school or whatever, and the government, that is something that the school needs to inform the government. You are now violating the terms of your visa. So what can happen if you violate the terms of your visa is the consulate or the embassy will immediately be informed and know of it. Once you're arrested, you're fingerprinted. That information can be shared with the federal government. In most cases, it almost always is. If you're a New York person, those fingerprints are put into the system and sent directly to the FBI, who will send it to ICE. So again, violation of student code, you get kicked out. You are not in status because you're not a student, and you, the government now knows because you've been fingerprinted, and you are, like I said, violating your status. The consulate or the embassy is going to know about this, and you might be placed in what's called expedited removal. So, a quick version of removal proceeding, which means that you are no longer under the jurisdiction of USCIS, but you are now in court proceedings. So the first thing that you need to absolutely do is contact two attorneys. You need to contact a criminal defense attorney, a really good one, and you need to contact an immigration attorney so that the immigration attorney and the criminal defense attorney can work in tandem, can work together to effectively resolve this situation. Especially if this is a very, very serious matter, you really need a criminal defense attorney who's going to properly advise you on how you should plead. Hopefully that criminal defense attorney is someone that's well-versed and will encourage you to not plead guilty, because there are immigration consequences to a guilty plea, and a great criminal defense attorney will know that. So if you are in a situation like this and you need a criminal defense attorney, please call me. I know a great one that I would be happy to refer to. It's somebody that I trust and that I work with very, very frequently. Okay, so like I said, first thing you need to do is call two attorneys, an immigration attorney and a great criminal defense attorney, who's going to successfully advise you on not filing for a guilty plea. When you are with the cops or when you are with the police, you have a right to not speak, because remember, all of that, everything that you say will be used against you in court, and you're going to get a court date. And depending on how bad the crime or the arrest is, you might be let go. And if you are let go, like I said, go to my step one and talk to two attorneys. If you're not let go and you're in court, then it becomes and you're in custody, then it becomes a little bit more complicated for you to navigate. But as far as the immigration consequences, the consulate is going to know. And because you are arrested, you will have to affirmatively disclose this on every subsequent immigration application, whether it's a non-immigrant application, so it's temporary, so you're coming to the U.S. to study again or to work, or it's an immigrant application where you are coming because you are somebody's family member or somebody's spouse. But you're going to need to definitely disclose this. If you don't disclose this, the government already knows because you've been fingerprinted. So you want to really really be honest and affirmative with the government. I want to go back to what I was saying about the violating the school code. Obviously, every school's code is different, is very different. I'm not saying that every school code will mandate a suspension, but most school codes, if you violate certain types of behavior, which will reflect negatively on the school, they will definitely take some sort of action towards disciplining you, right? In university or in the university system, they call it disciplinary action. So that's what's going to happen. You're going to get a court date or a criminal court date, and you're going to need to work with a criminal defense attorney, and that attorney is going to need to work in tandem with an immigration attorney. Again, like I said, after all of this happens, you might be placed in removal proceedings. So you're going to get a court date and you're going to be in front of a judge. And when this happens, again, this is something that is very case sensitive and specific sensitive. It might be considered whatever you're arrested for, a crime of moral turpitude. But again, this is specific to the state. So this is specific to where you live and where you're from, or sorry, where you're studying. But again, it's really, really important that you work with somebody who's experienced in this, who can properly advise you. Because again, being arrested, and we just saw this in October, right, with those 15 students being arrested and those 700 work permits being revoked, we're really seeing the government not really, like I said, not being lazy on this and enforcing this. So we have like a couple of comments. Farah Kazi, great work. Thank you so much. I really hope that this is informative and helpful for you and will help you navigate your time here. We have Sandy Minayas Diaz, necesito una cita. Puedes ir su mi sitio internet por hacer una consulta. O puedes llamar mi oficina. Yo tengo 2 oficinas en Nueva Jersey y en Nueva York. Estamos cerrados ahora, pero puedes llamar lunes por una cita en Nueva York o en Clifton, New Jersey. So getting back to our discussion or our talk, if you are arrested, there will be consequences. So let's talk about if you decide to apply for a subsequent visa. So you got arrested, you got kicked out of school, and you go back home and you want to apply for the O1, for example. So the O1 visa doesn't require a degree. It's very different from the H1B, where the H1B, you either need a degree, so a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or higher, or you need the equivalent of work experience to substitute 1 year of university. So if you go and you want to apply for your O1s, you're applying for your artist visa, you got kicked out of the Pratt Institute or something, and you want to be a graphic designer here in New York or here in the US in general. I work with everyone located everywhere in the world. I've got clients from South Africa to Peru to Miami to New York. I work with people everywhere in the world because they want to work with someone experienced like me. So you disclose everything on your application, you're very upfront, you're very honest, and you get a visa denial for your O1 visa, for example. The reason why you get a denial is because the immigration officer at the consulate, it has discretionary power to approve the visa stamp. So the interview that is undergone at the consulate is really a vetting process. I want you to really look at it like an interview. They're truly vetting you out to see if everything included in your application is truthful and real, and to see what sort of moral character you have. So like I said, the most likely you probably will be denied, but even if you are not denied, it's really good to understand and be prepped and know that the officer at the consulate has discretionary power to either approve or deny your case. And again, everything really depends on how the petition was prepared, the sort of officer you have, which consulate you're going to. Each consulate has its own different unfortunately, understanding of the law, their own rules that they follow. Some consulates are better than the others. Some consulates are worse than the others. Some officers are very experienced and other officers are not experienced. So it really depends on a lot of different factors. But the common denominator is that each officer that is interviewing you has that discretionary power to either approve or deny you. So you really want to be very careful about your behavior while you are in the US on a student visa. The consequences for a student, an American student, are very different for an international student. Like I said, I gave you the example of a friend from law school who had been arrested for drug use while she was an undergrad, and she is now a practicing attorney. I'm not saying that the same can't happen for an international student, but you will have hurdles or more hurdles than a US student. Again, you will most likely violate your code of conduct at the university, which will result in disciplinary action. That disciplinary action can be anything from being expelled or being suspended from the school. Once you're expelled or suspended from the school and you're no longer attending classes, you're no longer attending university, you are now in violation of your student visa. That arrest will result in you being fingerprinted. The fingerprints are going to be sent to the FBI, sent to the federal government, and the consulates and the embassies will know about that arrest. I have seen it in my career with certain clients where the consulate has actually emailed the client directly, informing them of the visa being canceled or the visa being annulled. So you want to be very, very, very careful about how you move while you are in the US. You really, and I tell this to my clients all the time, you really want to use your time to network, to be the best that you can. You came to the US for a specific reason, right? You came to the US to expand your knowledge, to network, to be among international students and American students, to challenge yourself, to get to know as much as possible, so that you can start working, so that you can profit off your schooling and your knowledge and apply that during your OPT, your year, to really engage in your field of study, and then subsequently get a work visa. So I work with many, many students, many people who are in F1 status, and we're changing them to workers, so either like a professional artist or professional creative, or H-1Bs, or professional, like traditional 9-to-5 worker. So I know that this was a lot of information, and I know that I'm giving it to you on the evening of January 1st, but I think that it's really important that you understand why I gave it to you on January 1st, because lots of bad things can happen while you're on holiday. Lots of bad things can happen while you are celebrating Christmas, celebrating the New Year's. And again, just to recap the types of cases that I very frequently see, I see DUIs, I see domestic violence, I see petty theft, I see possession of drugs. And again, this will depend on your state. What's decriminalized, what's not decriminalized in terms of drug possession or the different types of drugs. But for example, marijuana use is still a federal crime. While it may be decriminalized in your state, it is still a federal crime. So you really want to be careful about what you're doing, how you're engaging, how you're conducting yourself, because your end goal is not to engage in that small act. Your end goal is to become a productive member of the workforce. You came to the US to learn and to work and to improve upon yourself, to either bring that knowledge back to your home country or to immerse yourself in the US workforce. And again, I've worked everywhere. I've worked in the US. I own and run my firm in the US, but I've worked in Europe, almost all over. I worked for international firms in Italy, France, and Spain. I worked in Cote d'Ivoire, where my dad is from, and I have also studied internationally. I've studied in Beijing, in China. I've studied in Firenze, in Italy. I studied in Paris at La Sorbonne, in Hungary at Eötvös So I really understand what you guys are going through, because I've been in that situation. I've been in that situation before, where I was the international student abroad. And I know how exciting it can be to live and experience different cultures and different countries and different people, but you have to have that end goal in sight. So I really want to encourage you guys to really think about the big picture, which is your education and your career. But again, if this happens to you, the first thing that you want to do is really comport yourself in the best way possible. If you are with the police, meaning you don't want to speak, you really want to preserve your rights as much as possible, and keep quiet, and until you have the opportunity to call to attorneys. You want to call a great criminal defense attorney. If you don't know one, I can advise you of one. And you want to call a great immigration attorney who understands what you're going through and to get you out of this situation so that you can preserve your immigration history. So we just got a comment on TikTok. Let me just see really quickly. In conditional removal green card, if spouse doesn't help, do we do individual filing? This process, I can't see the rest of your comment. Does the process help in us timing after getting a visa? If we don't divorce, does it help us? Okay, so I think I kind of understand what you're saying. Basically, the user on TikTok is asking if he or she, I don't know the sex or gender of the person, if he or she can still apply for a green card if the U.S. citizen spouse is not helping. And the truth and the answer is yes, you can. If your spouse is unwilling to help you, you're a man. Okay, great. Sorry that I misgendered you. If your U.S. citizen spouse is not helping you file for your green card, then yes, that is considered a form of abuse, and you can file a VAWA petition. You should call my office. We are very experienced in filing these types of petitions, but the fact that your U.S. citizen spouse is neglecting to assist you, to help you with your petition, is a sign of abuse, and you could potentially qualify for a VAWA. So you want to call my office. Or if you already have your conditional green card, you might be able to file for a removal of conditions, a waiver. We actually just won one of these types of cases during the pandemic, maybe one month ago. My client's wife, it was a man as well. My client is from Peru. His wife was humiliating him, berating him, following him around, calling him names, treating him horribly, and refusing to file for his green card application. And we filed for the waiver. We got called in for the interview, and we were approved on the spot. My client, I received his green card in the mail within 5 business days. And needless to say, my client was very, very happy. But yes, the answer to your question is yes, you can file for your green card without your spouse, especially if your spouse is kind of dangling your immigration papers, in front of you, saying, I'm not going to help you. You're stuck with me. Yes, that qualifies for abuse, and potentially you can qualify for a VAWA. So for those of you who are just joining us, I started off the discussion kind of with breaking news, and the breaking news is that Trump, this presidency or this administration, yesterday, December 31st, has extended the proclamations, which affects diversity visa winners, which affects certain workers, for example, J1 nannies and au pairs, and which affects family members. So adult sons and daughters of U.S. citizens are affected, and this ban, this proclamation that he instituted in April and also extended in June, is now being extended until March 30th. So we were first talking about the proclamation extensions. Then I moved on to what my topic was for today, which is students and getting arrested. Again, students in getting arrested, you don't want to get arrested. You really want to make sure that you are maintaining your status. You want to make sure that you are not violating your school's code of conduct, that you are maintaining your status by attending courses and your classes and not engaging in suspect behavior, which could result in you getting arrested. Like I said, usually we see domestic violence, we see DUIs, I see petty theft. I see possession a lot of the time. So again, there are consequences. You could be placed in expedited removal. You want to speak to a great criminal defense attorney. If you need one, I can refer you to one. And you also need to speak with an experienced attorney who can help you navigate. The criminal defense attorney and the immigration attorney will work in tandem to make sure that you make the best decision for yourself, because a guilty plea will have consequences on your immigration trajectory. And a criminal defense attorney who doesn't know that is probably not well-versed in working with foreign nationals or with international people. So you really want to make sure you're working with somebody who has experience working with foreign nationals. So if anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer them. If not, I will be back tomorrow to continue to discuss students and what it means to be an international student in the US. Some topics that we're going to discuss this month include how to file for an F1 visa, what are some of the questions that are asked at the interview, what happens when you graduate, when should you apply for your OPT, how should you utilize your OPT time, which visa should you apply for after your OPT. So these are just a couple of questions that we're going to explore this month. But if there are any specific questions or specific topics that you want for me to cover, I'd be happy to talk about them. So again, please guys, follow me on TikTok, Yao Law Group, follow me on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, like this video, share this video. Again, I mentioned during my talk, 15 international students were arrested in October for fraud, and over 700 work permits were revoked. So there are students out there that need to hear this information. Also, guys, if you are on Clubhouse, please follow me on Clubhouse. I'm super active on Clubhouse. I was just asked to give to moderate a talk on Wednesday at 6 p.m. about marketing and branding. And I think that it'll be a great discussion for everybody to learn and to profit from, even if you aren't interested in immigration. I work very closely with artists, with their careers, with creatives, with professionals, engineers, doctors, nurses, in their immigration. But it's always really important to understand your brand and how to market yourself properly. And also I will be talking about my experience marketing myself as an attorney and what that means for me and my clients. So please follow me on Twitter, follow me on YouTube, follow me on Clubhouse. If you're not on Clubhouse, join Clubhouse, get an invite. I think that it's very, very important to start to connect with people, network with people, vocally as well as visually. Also connect with me on Instagram. I hope that this was helpful. Please remember about the proclamation, everybody. It's super important. That's been extended. It's going to affect a lot of families. It's going to affect a lot of businesses and a lot of workers, and everybody really needs to know about this and be aware. Please don't get arrested. If you do get arrested, remember to keep tight when you're in front of the cops or in front of the police, and call two people. You need to call your criminal defense attorney. You need to call your immigration attorney. They need to work together to fix this for you and make sure that you can have a clean bill of health for your immigration history. So with that being said, I'm wishing everybody a wonderful, a great, a prosperous new year. I know that for folks who are very deeply affected with immigration, and businesses affected with immigration, they're very happy that there is a different administration. Unfortunately, this new administration hasn't really discussed the proclamation and when they're going to rescind it, but we all have high hopes for the Biden-Harris administration, and we're looking forward to immigration reform. We are looking forward to advancements in trademark law and trademark policy and branding and the protection of businesses and ideas to a certain extent. So yeah, I'm wishing everybody a great new year. Follow me every day this year. I'm going to be doing a live video. I want to talk about what's important to you. I want to connect with you guys on all different platforms. I'm here, I'm super accessible. So have a great night. Like I said, don't get arrested. And if you do, you know who to call. Have a great night, everybody. Bye.